Okay, all right. So, Pete. I had this wild ass story I wanted to tell y'all. Um, but we're gonna do it like moral lessons because I be feeling this shit sometimes. I be out there, I be vibing and stuff. So it come to mind when it come to mind. Yeah, there's mad stuff on the screen. I'm streaming right now. Whatever. It's still a good story. I should tell you. Um, I was doing my laundry. And something had compelled me to say, instead of me smoking or whatever, like let me, cause like it was school time and like I felt that like I wasn't gonna smoke while school was in session, cause I know this was around the time kids go for like lesson recess and stuff, and I was thinking about that really hard, and I was like, yo, you know what's so funny to me is that as I was thinking about that, I started replaying in my head when I was that age, when I was in school, and how I remember the smell of weed, and I remember thinking to myself, oh my God, like, ew, like I've heard that's really bad. I've heard that's really like, and then what's crazy to me now as an adult is, yo, that's the stuff that ended up saving your life. And I was building myself on the opinion of, well, how did I get there then? What was I taught? What were the first things that I were taught about certain things? I still remember my and this is part of the story, it made me think about back then. I had a math teacher named Miss Ayala. And Miss Ayala, one time, I don't know what it was that professed that she was just like, yo, I gotta do this. She had said to me, yo, like she didn't say yo. She was like, Marquise, you gotta stay away from drugs. And she was like, don't ever smoke marijuana. That's the devil's stuff. Like, that's really bad for you. You'll fall down. And like, she was really giving me the propaganda. And it's like, I can never explain to her that, yo, I wouldn't be here right now. I don't know where she at. Not like I keep in touch with all my teachers. There's some that, the professionalism, always the resources. Always use your teachers as resources out of school. That helps them. I mean, don't overload them. There's just this thing to do, Anyway, I thought about why she said that. And I've been thinking about why she said that for such a long time. And then I ran into a friend of mine. And he was one of the teachers at the school that had just let their kids out for recess that I was walking past as I'm doing my laundry. And it was like, yo, there's a blast from the past, because I met him right around the time I had that conversation with Miss Ayala, which is crazy. And I was like, yo, that's so funny. You know what I mean? That's so funny to me that, like, when you call the universe for something, it really do come, but for some reason, you just can't be thinking about it. You know what I mean? You can't be thinking about it. You're not allowed to think about it. You have to think about it in such an honest and enduring way. You can't push for it. It's like your brain has to go there. And that's been happening more and more, because like I was thinking to myself, if I hadn't chosen to just take a walk instead of, just lighting up right in front of the laundromat or whatever, I wouldn't have seen him. And then I was like, yo, do I follow you? Do we still have each other? This and that. And we exchanged numbers. He's following me. He's like, yo, yeah, your stuff's really dope. And it was just like, yo, he's a teacher now, and that's crazy. Because I was just talking about my experience as a teacher and how, like, it just all comes together at some point. And it'd be really nice when it happens like that. But then it led me on to an even like further point. Okay, if that's the case, if that's how I really feel, if that's how I feel, then what gave me such an opportunistic edge to feel such a specific emotion? Where did I come from? You know, that's what I started asking myself. Like, yo, I see this dude on the block. Yo, you've been good. Yo, I see this dude on the block. Yo, you've been good. Like, that like association in the neighborhood of being a good person really pulls you out of certain situations that you're just never gonna be in. And for me, it made me ask this question, like, what was my childhood routine like that let me feel this? Because I sure remember my childhood being also a bunch of trauma at the same time, so why don't I dwell on that? It can't be mental fortitude. Nobody's trained me to do anything. It can't be natural state. So I was starting to think about, okay, so what was I doing during that time? And then I remembered, like, yo, oh my God, I demand a lot out of people. The schooling system, like, I got out at 3 o'clock with all of my friends around me. I didn't have to go meet them somewhere. They were all in the same place. I was gathered there. You know what I mean? My routine was never having to go look for them. I never had to like think about where they were gonna be or what we were gonna do. These routines were just set for us by time management that we never decided. Now, obviously, that's the American schooling system versus there are different states that do different things, this and that. But you could imagine somebody who's used to, let's say, getting out of school in July, being stunned to find out that we get out of school in June. Some kids start school in August. Like, there's so many little pieces to identities that I started thinking about. And as I'm dealing with my day, it's like, yo, somebody asks you, yo, how you've been? That whole conversation changes now because we all went through something. We all went through something collectively that says, yo, there's gonna be a lot of sadness in a lot of people's stories by default. That routine of transferring every 45 minutes to a different class, seeing somebody else, maybe popping in for 5, maybe we learned how to communicate like that, especially for people who had parents in certain situations where you wasn't allowed to go out with your friends. There were levels to how we grew up that we just missed along the road because that never mattered, because for a lot of children, I can assume, because I grew up, that was never the goal of what we were doing. And that's why some people, and this is going to be something I'm going to talk about much later, that's why people crave nostalgia so much. But there's a higher level of conversation to be had about that. And then I thought about it even deeper and I said, okay, I looked at the kids and I was like, yo, they probably think that playground and whatever shapes, colors are on the floor, whatever games they make up, they think that that's the world for them. Their imagination is running wild, free. They can just be free to make up whatever. When are you ever prepped for when that ends? When are you ever prepped? When are you ever prepped? When are you ever prepped to transition into you will have to search for that feeling again? It really reminded me like not everybody had that coping skill. if you consider that a coping skill. Nobody has the time to sit and think about it, but that's a huge part of who you are. You wonder why certain friends don't tolerate certain opinions now, and it's like, that's because you and I were separate paths, forced together. We made our fun there, but we never really were asking ourselves, or the majority weren't asking themselves, but also what's going on. I remember two girls crying because they weren't going to see each other ever again, or they thought they weren't because we were graduating and going to high school. I remember saying at that time, it's not like you guys aren't going to stop seeing each other, because I think they lived close to each other, and they never stopped talking to each other until one moved away, one went to Florida. How was that conversation handled? Better because they dealt with the trauma of it once? Do they think of it as trauma? So many questions. That's just two people. There's 8 billion people on this planet. The odds of you being able to properly transfer what that routine gave you, the more opportunities you get to say it out loud, the more you start to figure out your identity as a human being. There's a reason why people who are there's a reason why people who aren't cis-normative say, I've always known it. Because the pattern don't fit you. And you know that because you get mad at it. When you were younger, you were better at saying, I don't like this. The question was, did you have people around you that would say, okay, you don't like this, sure. Let's not put you around it. Or did you just have to deal with it? I'm sorry, if you're poor, you definitely just dealt with it. How many opportunities did you give up? Trying to explain it over and over and over again. See, but I thought about that. Maybe that's hyperfixation. Maybe I tunneled in so deeply on other people, but I thought to myself from an early age, I would consider that for you, so I think you should consider that for me. Because only the best output can come from this collision of our brains, minds, conversation. Somebody put us here for a reason, whether we didn't get put here for a reason or not. It just is what it is. We're here. And then I thought about recess and that imagination and your lunch break. And when you got the break in the middle of your day to go, you got to create that yourself, right? That's just mandated by your job, right? Oh, being a content creator means shuffling all that to the side because that's not important. See what I mean? There's levels to how this grows in what you end up doing. Asking for neurodivergence to mix with neurotypical when nobody's dealing with the intersectional issue, just emotionally. There's so many other avenues. There's so many other avenues. But just that little interaction brought me that much joy in knowing that, whether I want to admit it or not, I know for a fact, for some strange reason, I always gravitated the energy around me that let me understand impermanence. And I think that's a cool thing because it helps introspection a lot, especially when you got to do the grind. I'm trying to be a Twitch streamer, trying to do this whole thing. And these are some of the things I think about when I'm smacked. Hit the like, hit the subscribe, hit the bell and stay notified. Stay high.